is getting that up and running. Hi, everyone. I see a lot of participants filtering in right now. We had over 100 people sign up for this first session. It's the first of 4, so we're super excited to kick it off. Well, we were just talking with our panelists about, all women just coming in and crushing it for the fitness and wellness sector. So starting off, we have Susan, the CEO of Massage Heights. We've got Camille, the co-founder and president of Body Bar Pilates. Lindsay, who is the CMO of Athletic Republic. And we have Caitlin Johnson, who's the director of franchise development for Dry Bar, which is a part of WellBiz brand. So ladies, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm super excited to talk to you guys, especially because I know nothing about the wellness sector. So we're going to get into it. Really brief. So my name's Madeline Zook, for people who might not know. I'm a multi-unit, multi-brand franchisee in home services, formerly with Threshold Brands on the franchisor side, currently the director of marketing with Netsertive, and the host of the Art of the Franchise Marketing podcast, which I'm sure a lot of your friends and brands have actually been on at this point. So I have a nice view of supplier, franchisor, and franchisee, which is why I like to host these things, because it really helps kind of tie those communication strings together. And it wouldn't be a webinar unless I did a beauty slide for Netsertive. So we do localized digital marketing, paid media, organic, SEO, web solutions. We just opened our franchise development offerings as well. You can see some of our clients on the side. And I think that what makes us really unique is that a lot of the people that work on our accounts, along with our proprietary software, have been franchisors or franchisees. So we find that understanding the nuances and the pain points kind of helps streamline our locations to success. So if you have any questions, feel free to ping me or anyone on our team after the fact. So getting right into it, I'm gonna pass the mic over to Susan. So they've got over 100 locations. She's our massage industry leader today, the CEO. Susan, why don't you take us through a little bit on how you came to Massage Heights, your background, and then also, what's your brand story and your brand's mission?
Great. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's great to see Lindsay, Camille, and everyone else on here. Thank you. I don't know if I've met each one of you, but maybe in our past, in the future, we'll cross. But anyway, I've been in franchising overall over 35 years. So I've come from a variety of industries: food, primarily McDonald's, Cold Stone Creamery, pizza, haircut industry, sport clips down in Texas, fitness and health. I was with Massage Envy as the CMO for 5 years. And then after that, had a huge opportunity and transition to oversee Title Boxing Club as president for 6 years. So that was an amazing journey for me. And then, we all went through the COVID, and we went through a transaction, and we sold in January of 2021. And I was doing some consulting and realized that, gosh, I'm really not a good consultant. I really like focusing on a brand. So it's just like, that's what happens. And so I re-engaged with the co-founder, Shane Franson Evans, who is the obviously co-founder and sits on our board at Massage Heights. And we've known each other for a long time, and timing just worked out. And I love the health and wellness industry. I personally resonate with it. And so she was looking for another journey in her life and was wanting to go in that direction. So I happily took over as CEO and president in May of 2021. Massage Heights is 115 locations in the US and Canada. We just opened our 11th in Canada, so we're really excited about the franchisees there. And, we're a massage and facial industry. We help elevate the lives of others, and we provide our guests and our members, because we're a membership model, with professional, affordable, and a resort quality like massage and skincare wellness services. We've been around 20 years. It'll be our 20th anniversary this next year. And our overall mission is to deliver an awesome, personalized, therapeutic experience for each guest every time. Have an amazing team of leaders and that are very experienced in not just franchising, but the spa industry. Love what I do. And I mean, that's the story. How I got to Massage Heights was again, I believe in networking. I believe in opportunities. And so it was the right timing and opportunity for me.
That's awesome. And you said you love the fitness and wellness franchise sector, and I love that you came from all different parts, I would say, of the franchising globe. What are some of the benefits you see of the industry? Because a lot of our listeners here are either other brand execs or, the high level franchising candidates looking to expand their portfolio. So what would you say in terms of the massage industry, the wellness industry, that really stands out apart from, say, food or beverage or, home services?
Well, I guess first and foremost, the industry is just on fire. I mean, I think everyone will agree that today people are wanting to take care of themselves mentally and physically more so than ever. And consumers are investing in health and wellness. So it's just significantly rising every day. And so the demand is huge. So obviously therapeutic services in our line, massages and facials, continues to escalate. And, people are dealing with so many different issues today, anxiety, depression, and, just wanting to feel better about themselves. So we have a service that absolutely can help members and guests all over the globe feel better about themselves. So I think that's just a segment that I'm really proud to be in. So health and wellness, we're here to serve our members and guests and make them feel better and better their lives.
And I think that, there's definitely something to that, because while there's been definitely a consumer focus on, the self-care, which was serious, and then it kind of got a little like, oh, got to do self-care. And then it came back to like the realization of like, if you don't do this, like your mental and physical health will suffer. So it's nice to see I would say consumers, or the everyone in general, really taking hold and understanding that it doesn't necessarily have to be, I'm going for a run, I'm taking a fitness class. It can also be the massages, the facials, the salons, anything that kind of makes you feel good and not necessarily outside, inside, whatever it may be. Susan, thanks. And we'll talk more about Massage Heights after. Next, we have Camille, who is the co-founder and president of Body Bar Pilates. Camille, it's funny. So I was on Instagram the other day, and I have a friend who lives out, I think she's in Chicago or something. I forget. And she posted about this brand that she loves, that she's like, I want it to come here. I know my friend is going to open one, I think in Texas. I'm not sure the details. And I was like, oh, what is this brand? And I clicked further, and it was Body Bar Pilates. And I was like, oh shit, I know her. So, you have definitely made a brand, and, are in an industry that people are loving. They've continued to love. And I've really seen a kind of revival of it after a while. So talk to me about your story. I believe that you founded this with your husband, how that's gone, and also, your brand story now.
Yeah, absolutely. Our story is really interesting. And I love hearing that story. That makes me so happy. We do have a location in Chicago. So she is in Chicago, and they're opening their next 2 locations, with one in a month and another one in January. Perfect. So that definitely could have been where she saw that. So we are very interesting. So we started out, my husband and I, as a franchisee, the first franchisee of Body Bar Pilates. There was a location in Dallas and Plano by the owners of those locations, and they wanted to start franchising. So we loved the workout. Have always loved to work out, and it kicks my butt, and I love that. I'm kind of one of those weirdos that like to be challenged. And so we, invested in being a franchisee, and became a franchisee about 2.5 years after opening our location. There weren't any other franchise locations sold. We were kind of just running as our own studio. So we went to the franchisor at the time and said, hey, we aren't really a franchise system. We need to just break away. And they kind of let us know, like, we still believe in franchising this brand, but we don't want to be the ones to do it. Like, we are ready to retire. We're ready to travel. And so they asked us to partner with them and basically replicate and franchise what we were running in our studio. We were still doing the same workout that they were doing, but we had implemented sales processes, marketing, all of those things that you really need to be able to run a location. So we took about a year of researching, my husband and I, going to conferences, wanting to make sure we did this the right way. We wanted to make sure to have as much support for our franchisees as we could give them, because we didn't really feel like we had that going into it. And opening up your own business is so scary already. And so that's why you buy into a franchise, so that you have that support. So we took about a year trying to find the best vendors, adding to our team to make sure that we could support franchisees. We took over franchising in 2019, sold a couple of locations at the end of 2019. And then of course, 2020 hits and everybody kind of tapped the brakes on fitness. But we were still able to sell virtually locations from there and now. So really actively, franchising. We opened our 25th location last month, and we have about 70 locations sold. And this next year, we're going to double that at least. Body Bar Pilates overall is just a great workout. We really believe in having a community feel within the studio. So our marketing calendar is all about how can you make sure you are touching the lives of your members. We know that, typically reformer Pilates isn't going to be as cheap as your box gym, because we have a smaller class size. So we want to make sure we bring that value every single time from our instructors to our studio managers, to our sales associates, just the best customer service. But then of course, give them a great workout, and we power that workout with Pilates. So we love it. I'm glad that you already are seeing it on social media. And, people, yes, Florida has been a big market for us. We're almost like getting out of territories in Florida at this point. So it's exciting.
Floridians love a franchise. I'll tell you what, franchise doesn't work for Florida always gets sold out first. That's, I love that. And I would imagine that a lot of times when it comes down to your discovery days, probably what pushes people over the edge in the yes way is the fact that you started out as a franchisee.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a huge part of it. And we still own locations. So my husband and I still have 3 locations ourselves. So I always explain to him, if we make a change within the system, this is going to affect me too. So I'm always thinking about it from their perspective the whole time. And how can and then whenever, a franchisee is like, oh, I'm trying to get open and they're anxious and they're frustrated, like making sure my team understands, like, this takes time. And if they already have a full-time job and they're trying to do this, like, this is what we're here to help. And so that part's huge. I'm an instructor. I still teach a couple of classes a week, so I can speak to instructors and to the fitness side of it, but then as an owner too. So yeah, that's a big selling part for us. And then of course, working with my husband, we're always can be interesting sometimes. So we have to really balance, this is your lane, this is my lane, and kind of try not to step on people's toes.
My husband and I both own, between the 4 different brands, we've got, I don't know, 20 or 30 locations. And if we even take a step in each other's lanes, it's like a house divided. Even the kids are like, ooh, it's a work fight again. They know.
Yeah,
so
we need to go to dinner.
Yeah, I definitely applaud you for that. Thankfully, my daughters, we outnumber the boys. So I'm always like, see, I told you I was right. I have a team on my side.
That's right.
But that's really great. And I think a lot of times the home office, as much as you might think you understand the pains and what you're saying to the franchisees, until you've really been a franchisee, put your money on the line, communication strings get lost. I mean,
yeah.
My husband owned a bunch of Maid Pros when I was working at the corporate office. And there are so many times that the corporate would be like, the franchisees are going to love this. And they'd announce it. And then my husband would be like, can you believe what the F they just did? And I'm like, hold on. Here's why they did this. So exactly. I think that, having you and your husband at the forefront and feeling whatever change you make is definitely a differentiator, and it's super important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So next we have not that. Go back. We have Lindsay, and very rarely am I blown away by someone in marketing, because as much as I say, marketing changes all the time, nothing really changes. I spend my career talking to people about franchise marketing, and I met Lindsay through a podcast, and she came on and absolutely blew my socks off. I was like, oh, this is the real deal. This isn't fake it to make it. So I'm super excited to hear from her today. Lindsay, take me through your story. Let's talk about Athletic Republic. I love what you guys do, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of insight to share today.
Yeah, I'm really excited I'm here as well. Thank you for inviting me. My background, I really like to say I made it my mission to merge like my passion for life, athletics, and wellness with my career. I know a lot of us are moms on here, but we know the struggle of a working mom life. And I realized very quickly that if I was going to spend more time with my coworkers in my career than possibly my family at home, it better be something that I love to do. So I think I just followed that path just straight out of college. I'm about 2 decades into what I call the sports and athletics industry. I started with a startup at the time back in San Diego. I'm from Southern California, a tiny little company. I was the 30th employee of a tiny little company called active.com, which is now the largest registration portal for all endurance sports. So anything marathon, triathlon, 5K, even fishing license and camping registrations, you do it on active.com. So I got thrown right into the needs of kind of the sports and athletics business and just absolutely fell in love with it, and the people I was surrounded with. And so I continued that as I made my big move out to Utah. My husband, I married my college sweetheart. We were both in athletics. Surprisingly, we were collegiate water skiers, which is actually
that's what you don't hear all the time.
And we are now avid water skiers and then are raising our 2 kids on the lakes and loving the outdoors and camping. And but the two of us decided to move out to the beautiful Utah to just live in the outdoors and live and breathe our passion, raise our kids in a place that they'll love to call home. And came and worked for a company called backcountry.com, which was an absolutely incredible experience in the boom of retail and internet retail. I learned everything there is to know about the internet retail space in what we were calling the sports and lifestyle industry at the time. And then spent some time with Adobe, the agency on record for Adobe, because I saw this need to expand my experience in digital implementations. And so working with Adobe, their headquarters are here in Salt Lake. They've got a campus similar to Google and Facebook. Adobe runs Utah pretty much here. And then fell into Athletic Republic. It actually happened. They're very, so I live in Park City, Utah. It's a very small town up in the mountains, just about 20 minutes outside of Salt Lake City. And there are maybe a handful of companies that are born and raised and run their headquarters out of Park City. And in my experience, I knew that I had nailed the idea of wanting to be passionate about what I do and who I work for. But I was realizing that I was kind of playing with this idea of working for really big, like Fortune 500 companies, and even working for some really small startups. And I said, how in my career, how can I get the feeling of both? How can I get the feeling of doing global marketing at scale and really challenge myself as a marketing individual, but marry that with the needing to feel fulfilled about changing the lives of people and their careers or their small businesses or their community. And I feel like I accidentally fell into franchising. I know some people are born into it. Susan, I'm so jealous of your story and over 30 years in franchising. I say one of my biggest regrets is not finding franchising earlier. For me, it was the merge of everything I was looking for in a career. I really got to challenge myself at really large scale problems and really understanding, how to tap into audiences globally, but also locally, but then feeling like I'm really affecting and changing the lives of small business owners. That really gave me so much fulfillment at night to know the names of every one of our franchisees, their kids and their families, what we're doing for their their lives. And so I just feel like I call it my happy place. And I tell people all the time that I have the world's best job. Because that leads into what Athletic Republic is. We might be a little bit unknown for a lot of you, but we're very well known in the territories that we're at. We are a sports performance training business. We've been around for 32 years. And our sweet spot is that we train college or student athletes. Everything from as young as 7 years old up to about 27 is our sweet spot. And we don't teach the sports skills, so the baseball swing or the quarterback throw, but we teach everything behind the athlete. So we teach the power, the strength, the conditioning, the speed, the stamina. We help build up an athlete, and then we have testing protocols similar to what you put like a football athlete through in combine. We do that for all athletes and all sports. And so I'm really proud about what we do. We have a lot of data and technology that helps prove the value of our business through the report cards for our athletes. But one of the things I'm most proud about, and especially being on today's panel, we were talking about it before we got started, of all females, which I'm really proud to see the rise in female, both in entrepreneurs and in franchise leadership. But for us at Athletic Republic, we just crossed the barrier of over 50% of our customers are female athletes. So having a place for the female athlete to train, and a safe place for the female athlete to train, and for me personally, being a mom of a daughter, having a place for her to get better and people that believe in her is why I do this every day.
I love that. And so I played college basketball and professional for a little while after. And I was also a partner in a facility that would train athletes. One half of it was similar to an Athletic Republic. They would do all of the strength training, the conditioning, and then I was brought in to do more of the technical work. And it's amazing how different an athlete can perform when they have the foundations mentally, physically, outside of just here's how you make a layup, here's how you throw a football. And there's, a never-ending revenue stream there. And I know that sounds bad, but people will pay anything to help their kid.
I am telling you, I know, like when you were asking about like the benefits, for us, it's like there is nothing a parent won't pay to give an opportunity to their child.
Right.
And I joined right before COVID. So yeah, joined the fitness industry right before COVID. That's a brilliant idea. But we actually weren't affected that much of it, because of it. I think people would cut out, things that like getting their hair done or getting their nails done. But when it came to our kids, there was no cutting back on our investment in kids. If your kid comes to you and says, Mom, I can't make the varsity team because I can't make the 40-yard dash, or I'm not strong enough, or I'm not quick enough to keep up with the A squad, you'll do anything in your power to give your kid that extra leg up. And so I think that's one of the biggest benefits for us is that we don't really have to compete in the pricing space, in the competitive pricing space, because parents are like, oh, my kid needs it, or the coach says my kid needs it. Here we go, add it to the budget.
Yeah. And I think you're glossing over the fact that I needed my kids out of the effing house in any way possible. I was like, this girl's 3 years old and she's already running laps like around the house. I was like, go do something, get away from me. So, there's that too. But no, it's so true. I oftentimes, now that I'm a school age parent, I have parents come to me with all of these pamphlets and they're like, these are all sports things that they say my kids need. What do I do? And I always tell them, you've got to start with the strength and conditioning, which we'll get in after, because I was like in the weight room at like 3rd grade. And now you have to like drag me in there to work out. And so I'm trying to change the mindset on that, which we'll get into right after we hear from Caitlin, who is here representing a small company called Dry Bar, which I'm sure everyone has heard of. They're a part of WellBiz Brands, their platform with about 900 locations, across their, I believe it's like 5 brands now.
Yep.
Yep. So Caitlin, take us through your journey in franchising, how you got into Dry Bar and WellBiz.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me. This is so fun. My first time, and I'm having a blast with you guys and just and listening to all of your backgrounds. I'm just really inspired. And but a little bit about me. I actually started off, I don't even know how I found myself in franchising, just like Lindsay said. I don't know how I'm here. But my first job out of college, I actually was working for corporate Waffle House. Does anyone know what Waffle House is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you didn't
So,
wake
but
up one day and you're like, I'm gonna major in Waffle House
you know,
economics, people.
I actually got my degree in speech pathology. I was supposed to be a speech teacher, and then I decided I I don't know if that's for me, and I fell into recruiting. And so
Mhm.
I worked for the corporate side of Waffle House. I was recruiting for their management teams, and traveling a lot. So I was in Houston, and I was covering all 13 stores out of Houston. Backing up a bit, I'm a Mississippi girl. And when I tell you that 13 miles in Mississippi is about 14 minutes, and then moving to a city like Houston, and I'm telling you, it changed me as a person, the traffic. I was like, I don't know if I'm meant for this. But anyways, I kind of fell into recruiting. And in the midst of having that pretty crazy hectic job, I found myself taking Pure Barre classes, and then I went to be an instructor. So I was working for a local franchisee there, and I started kind of getting exposed to like this franchisee model. And I fell in love with fitness at that time. And then me and my husband moved again to the upstate of South Carolina, which is where Pure Barre Corporate was based out of at the time, pre-Expo Fitness. And they were hiring for a senior franchise recruiter role. And I was like, I have no idea, but I am shooting my shot. I'm going to go for it. And they hired me. So, anyways, I was an instructor, and then I went to work for the corporate team. And then I just fell into franchise development, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I really feel like it's where recruitment and sales meet. I love the mission of trying to find the right fit for both the candidate and then also for the organization. And so I started there in 2015, and I did take a little break to have babies and raise babies, and then COVID hit, and all of that. And so, but then this WellBiz Brands opportunity came at me. I have some former colleagues from Pure Barre that went over there, and they were keeping me in mind as opportunities came up. And so I've been with WellBiz Brands for about 2 years, representing 5 brands, all within the beauty and wellness space. So I'm super passionate just about fitness, wellness, and beauty, anything that can benefit lives. Um, and I really love specifically about the Dry Bar brand is that it's got such a loyal, I want to say, fan base. The brand recognition around this brand, and then the confidence that we're selling to women every single day, the body language of women, that the big shift in their body language from the time that they walk into our shop into the time that they leave, it's so impactful. And so anyways, this has been such a cool experience. And that's really kind of how I fell into it. Now I can't imagine doing anything other than franchise development because it's just so fun. And I like being within this arena. Um, Dry Bar specifically is our fastest growing brand today. What's really cool about it is, WellBiz Brands really came into the picture in 2021. There were 120 locations roughly. 90 of them were corporately owned. And so Allie Webb, the founder, I'm sure you guys are familiar with her. She has really positioned herself, or kind of defined herself as a disruptor in the beauty industry. And I just am really uh, encouraged by her story. It's such a fun, founding story that she was actually a cosmetologist. Hmm. And she was living in LA, and she kind of found she created a successful side gig for herself while her kids were at work. She was getting calls from her friends and family and other clients. And hey, can you come and style my hair? I have a big event coming up. Or hey, I just have a big and crazy week, and I don't want to stress about my hair. And so she really saw that there was not an affordable or accessible space for women just to get their hair styled how they wanted, on anytime they wanted. So anyways, she pitched the idea to her investors, which was her husband and her brother, and some others, of course, about creating a brick and mortar concept for just styling hair. They thought that she was crazy, but really she's genius, because I would pay someone every day to do my hair, because it's a big stressor for me. So anyways, this has been such a fun brand to work on. And the people that we're working with, they are truly passionate about the brand. And they really want to bring a concept like this to their communities to better the lives of the women in their communities. And so it's been super fun. It's such a simple business model. Like our tagline says it all: no cuts, no colors, just blowouts. So we can essentially wash, blow dry, and style your hair within 40 minutes using our proprietary product line that people already know and love, because actually our products can be found in Ulta, Sephora, Nordstrom. So we're already a household name, and we are the category creator of the blowout space, which, our name holds a lot of weight, and really proud to represent a brand like this, for sure.
And I think that it's surprising that it hadn't been thought of before. I feel like that's how people always say, like, why didn't I think of the sticky? Why didn't I think of the paperclip? Because it's so obvious. But, you go to the salon, you spend $100, $200, you get your hair cut, you get it colored, you leave, you look fabulous. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, well, that's gone, and unless, I was someone that was not booking a salon appointment unless you were going to get your hair cut, colored. So to have this availability for someone you can book it, they can style it, it doesn't break the bank, it was a game changer. And it came to Boston, I think, when I was in my mid-20s, and we were going out every single night. People were getting broken up with, they were getting engaged with, and it all started with, well, I gotta make my appointment at the dry bar first, because whatever happens, I gotta make sure I look good in the photos for it. So I definitely see how what may have come off as like a trendy concept has now really taken hold in that salon space, because it also transcends all different age generations. Everyone wants to get their hair done. I had a friend who was battling cancer, and we went to a dry bar, and she, of course, had lost her hair to chemo. And what they did instead was, they brought in a manicurist who did her nails. They gave her like a scalp massage. So just going the extra mile to be inclusive, even if someone is, doesn't necessarily have the hair to style, was really impressive. And, they even offered to style her wig if she wanted that. So it's really cool to see how brands, as much as they, can go corporate across the globe, they really always have that customer in mind, that community member, that sister, which is super important. So thanks, Caitlin, and we'll definitely hear more from you. So now onto our major, topic is dominating the wellness market. And Susan, I want to start with you, because for the massage industry, we know it works. It's been around forever. You need a brick and mortar. But because everyone knows that there's probably a massage studio near you, what is that marketing like? What do you guys coach on to your franchisees to make sure that when they pick up the phone, they want to call Massage Heights? You're on top of all of the latest trends, and you're making sure that Massage Heights is dominating, each community in that way. Because like I said, again, you can call the independents. You've got I think it's like a Soothe app where a massage therapist comes to your house. How are you making sure that you're staying on top in every local market?
Well, it's a great question. And I think the first foundational things, we have to listen to our members and our customers. So we do invest in that. We're not just talking to them, our franchisees aren't just talking to them, but we do research, we do surveying, we've done focus groups, and we absolutely have to keep a pulse on what our customers and our members are wanting. That's how we evolve, that's how we innovate. Community, you said it, our franchisees are entrenched in their communities, and a lot of it is first of all, they have the passion for it, but also their therapists that they employ and their teams have that passion. And it's great for recruiting and retention, because therapists and life coaches, we call them, our sales associates, they love being part of brands that are part of cause marketing and are involved in the community. So it also allows us to know how we can effectively innovate. And we've got a number of innovations going into 2024. I wish I could reveal them, but I can't. We've got a business meeting in a few weeks, and it's about new partnerships, new services, new products. And that's how we stay in front of everything. Is we have to innovate, but it's really based on what our customer tells us is important. We drive prospects, but we also have to retain our members. And so it's a combination of both. And, you know, we're a swift team and we do it diligently. We're data focused. We test things, but at some point we can obviously launch things with our LMS. We just launched a new LMS last year. We've developed over 150 new videos. And so there's training involved. So we keep in front by new innovations with training and culture. How do we continue to drive culture with our franchisees and in the retreats? We call them retreats. We try and think outside the box too. And a couple of years ago, we launched Outside the Room, which our chief experience therapeutic officer, CG Funk, who is very well known in the massage industry. She sits on the iSpa board. I actually knew her at Massage Envy. We worked together and lured her over to Massage Heights when I came on board. And she started a podcast called Outside the Room and have industry leaders as well as some of our therapists on there, and they talk about the business, they talk about the industry, and it's well received, but it's something very different because we need to reach the therapists, those who obviously give the service to our members and guests. So I thinking outside the box, you have to think outside the box, you have to innovate in a smart way, but it all comes down to, in our world, just listening to our members and our customers and keeping a continual pulse on that. And we have partnerships that I'm excited to announce in a few weeks that will resonate with our members, our guests, and, you know, with our teams and our franchisees. So I can't let the cat out of the bag, but always looking at those types of things. And I think after, not just after COVID, but you have to continue to do different things out there today. And so that's really what we've been focusing on the last year in a lot of our testing.
And I love that you say, you know, innovate in a smart way, because a lot of times I see brands probably getting too far ahead of their skis and they're announcing partnerships or they're trying to automate in ways that might not be scalable, in ways that might not be always welcomed by a huge community but behind the franchise. I think a lot of people forget that it's not just corporate down. You know, corporate is listening to what the franchisees want to do, because as much as they can say, we're doing this, if everyone stomps their feet and says no, I can guarantee you're not doing it. So beyond, or I should say on top of that, you know, while you're innovating, you know, it's a highly competitive space, a highly needed space. I preach this all the time because I have chronic migraines stemming from a basketball injury way back. And if I don't get a massage every 2 weeks, they will come back. And it's like, I cannot function unless I have a massage. And a lot of people think, oh, it's just a luxury. Oh yeah, right, Maddie. I'm like, no, this is a serious health thing. You know, and I'm able to justify the cost for that. But how much does cost and price play into your operations and marketing planning? Because I think a lot of times when people go to a massage, unless that they are fully knowledgeable of making sure you're going to the professional, what they all need to do, a lot of times it's a price play. So how does that play into Massage Heights in terms of planning and innovation?
Well, we're a membership-based model. So obviously, and I'm like you, I'm really lucky. I get a massage every week if I can. I mean, I travel all over, and that's one of the big benefits. But I personally have always been a user of massage and facials. It's just been part of my regimen for a very long time. I think it's just important that as we look at, I guess, the mass of what we're communicating, we're always communicating the benefits of what massage therapy can give you, just like in any industry. And the proof's in the pudding, but we have, I guess, some of the highest retention I've ever seen with our members and guests. So they keep coming back and back. But our marketing strategy, and Ashley Schutz is our CMO, does a phenomenal job. It is about communicating the benefits and the testimonials of what massage therapy can do for you. But it's also, I think someone said it earlier, a great preventative strategy. I mean, people come and get massages to prevent, certain fibromyalgias or certain things that they have aches and pains with, or acne, preventative and maintenance. So I think our world has changed. It's not just reactive when you all of a sudden have pulled a muscle or something. It is part of a routine. Many, many years ago, the perception of was a luxury. And today it's not just a necessity, but it's a way to prevent and be proactive in your health and wellness. So we do have all arsenals of marketing, the social, the Instagram. We encourage our franchisees to obviously, engage in local store marketing community, as well as, we have platforms for everything. And I just think it's not just one thing anymore to get out there to the members and customers. It's just having a well thought out marketing plan. And, sometimes things don't work, but, you just got to keep going at it and trying it. But just the benefits, and there's enough testimonials out there of people who get it and come in all the time. And I can't ever get a 60-minute massage. It has to be 90 minutes. So I don't know about you other ladies, but once you get a 90-minute, you can't ever go back. It's just the relaxation, but also the therapeutic and scientific side of how it can help your muscles. And after a great Pilates workout, right, Camille? You
That's
can,
right.
Lindsay, in that, you can come in and obviously get a great massage and feel really good about yourself. And so, I think it's just a combination of things, and it takes a team to get those strategies and initiatives launched. And we learn a lot too. We work very closely with our product development team, our marketing team does, and we work hand in hand with operations and training. It can't go any other way. It's they're glued at the hips on everything.
I love that. Susan, thank you. And Caitlin, I want to pass the mic over to you. So obviously, playing on what Susan said, you've got that community marketing. You guys, I'm sure, are the leaders of word of mouth. On consumer side, you also have that product line that you sell. How much of that is a stakeholder in the business? Is it like 50% profits from what we're selling in the store and then our services? Is it smaller? What does that look like when a franchisee says, okay, well, I'm also selling our proprietary products? How does that play into my business model?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I would say that it is a bit smaller because the individuals coming into our shops, the primary purpose is to get a service done. So it's almost like a convenience piece, like, oh, I'm going to pick up my favorite product while I'm in shop. And also, if you sign up for the membership, you get 10% off products. So it's a perk of joining that membership program, which is something that we've really implemented since acquiring the brand a little over 2 years ago. And so a lot of people, like during the discovery process, ask a lot like, hey, do you view Sephora, Ulta as competitors because they sell our products? And truly, it's so much more beneficial from a marketing perspective and brand awareness point of view that, truly, we're a household name because people have our products already at home. And so it intrigues them to come into the shop and get a service done. But really, it's probably, I would say, roughly 15%, if that, and they can maximize on that opportunity, right? But, I would say that the services, that's really our primary driver inside the shops.
And then how much for women that come in? Because it's you have the membership, I'm sure you have, the walk-ins or the one-times. What is that ratio like? Is it primarily recurring customers and you're seeing that constant membership build? Or is it a lot of new customers walking in and then eventually, hopefully they get the membership?
Yeah, I think now in this new era of Dry Bar, we are really pushing the reoccurring visits, right? So so we rolled out a new membership program. So there was one membership option, I believe, with the original team, but really no one really knew about it, right? So since WellBiz has really come into the picture, we've really been trying to establish a sales culture within the with the stylists and the front desk staff to really educate people on the benefits of the membership. So we're really pushing on that. And then also a new initiative that we've pushed is a pre-opening membership campaign about 6 weeks prior to grand opening. So hopefully we can get, our franchisees to about 100 members before they even open their doors. That's the goal. And so with that being said, the goal is for about 75% of their revenue to come from reoccurring, membership payments. And so, but of course, we're still trying to drive new customer traffic through our DMM programs and campaigns. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's always going to be a big piece of it. And then also Drybar has the ability to really be, events. That's a big piece of this business too. So think weddings, bachelorette trips, any type of event, so that's a great opportunity for our franchisees. But yeah, I would say that right now, like our focus is to build that membership base. But new customers and people traveling and wanting to get a blowout before they go to a show or go to dinner, that's always going to be a big element to our business.
Yeah, and I love that idea of, the goal is to get 100 clients before they even open. I think that's the biggest struggle for a lot of local franchisees, is because when they're doing their validation calls, when they're visiting, the concepts, there's always customers in there. There's a reason that they know that they want to join. And when they open and people don't immediately come knocking, it can be a really scary thing. So if you're starting off with already a handful of clients, let alone recurring clients, I think that that's just a great safety net for those new franchisees, and a good way to also, I think a lot of times the new franchisees can be very scared, very high maintenance, because the marketing is not working, and it takes time. So starting that clock before they even open is almost crucial at this point. Now, Camille, are you guys also that membership recurring base? Do you sell packages? How does your concept work?
Yeah, we are definitely, majority is reoccurring memberships. We also do a pre-sale where we aim to get 175 members before you open, because just like you said, like you want your classes to have people in it that first opening week. And then of course for the franchisee, having that, money hit their bank account when you open your doors is a great feeling. But about 80% of our monthly revenue for our franchise owners is going to be that reoccurring membership revenue, which is just great because you can plan ahead, what's going to hit your bank. And then you also have class packages, drop-ins. We also to go through instructor training, which this is very normal for the fitness industry and for Pilates specifically. They do have to pay to go through our training program. So then that's also additional revenue dollars for that franchise owner. And there's a lot of people that go through the training just to better their own practice, not even really necessarily wanting to be instructors. So that's something that we encourage our franchise owners, like advertise your instructor training so that you can, get that revenue. And then you always need instructors, always. I know Caitlin, I'm sure she knows that from Pure Barre days. Like you can never stop recruiting instructors.
So that's interesting. So you advertise your instructor training that they pay to learn and better, and that doesn't say like, like say competitors come in the door and they're like, I'm going to take the body bar, training, and then I'm going to use that in my class. Is that ever a concern?
I mean, of course, we do have a non-compete that they're supposed to sign. They're never supposed to teach the body bar method anywhere else, and specifically within 10 miles radius, but that can always, you can't control every single individual. But typically the way that, we're able to stack people's classes. So like if they wanted to become just a full-time instructor, we can give them as many classes as they need typically to be able to make a good living. Instructors, Pilates instructors in general are paid pretty well. And so, because you do have to have a lot of expertise, you have to check form, you have to do all of those things. And so, so we have, we rarely have instructor rollover. It's typically you need more instructors because you're adding more classes to your schedule, trying to get more people in. With our classes, we either have availability for 12 or for 14 participants in class. So we have to run a lot of classes. So it's not, you know, like a bar studio can fit maybe 20 plus people inside a class, and it just limits. So we have classes like starting at 5:30 in the morning, running till 2, and then a little break, and then start back up at like 4:30 till 7:30.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting, because it's fun, because for you guys, a lot of like the massage therapists, the Pilates instructors, these are you know, careers that people love, you know, and the employees that work for me are people that are washing windows and cleaning houses. And there's a ton of turnover because that's not something that people necessarily love. Of course,
Right.
there's the exceptions. But I think, you know, what you're bringing to light is a really important piece of this franchise industry, is that your employees want to work with you. They want to stay there. They want to be a part of this health and wellness journey with the brand, with the customers, and ultimately themselves. Now, Lindsay, I worked with kids in sports. You worked with kids in sports. If I could throw a rock at every parent who yelled at me because their kids didn't go professional, there would not be any more sand on the beaches. So what are these instructors? What is that kind of training like for you guys? Because not only are they, you know, in fitness, you're working with people's kids. Kids can be awesome. I love them, but they can also be, it's much different. It's a much different coaching, talking culture. And then you're also working with the parents on top of it. It's almost, I always liken like when you're working with kids to like working with pets, because you're selling to the kid, but you're also selling to, you know, the person paying for it, which at times are two different target audiences. So how does that work for you guys?
It's so true. I'm so glad you said that quote, the throw stone or whatever. Our most common quote we always hear is, I wish I had this as a kid. Because all of us are like, oh my gosh, if I had Athletic Republic, I would be professional. Like I wouldn't, like totally, I would totally be a professional athlete. But just to either have that trainer or that center as inspiration or as a role model, but also for injury prevention. It's almost an insurance method for a lot of parents to say, okay, my kid's maybe a sophomore, junior, they're getting really good at their sport. They have an opportunity for a full ride in a D1 college if I invest appropriately. If we work on their strength and conditioning, if we work on injury prevention, if we get them on the right team and recruited to the right people. So for a lot of our parents, it's an investment. And a lot of our parents are actually, they're trying to live the lives that they might not have had through their children, and give them everything and every opportunity they might not have had. So that's exactly what we do. And we lean in, our marketing strategy is really leaning into the outcomes and the results of the athletes that come through our program. Not so much what we do within our centers, but what happens for our athletes and the performance gains of our athletes after. So we use a lot of data and technology to show, like physically show the data improvements in an athlete's power output or strength or speed. Anything that a parent can physically see in a report card helps them understand that the investment in the training services are really working well. And then they're going to see it in their athlete. Madeline, I think you were saying that earlier. The athletes that go through strength and conditioning or weightlifting or speed training, not only rebuilding that skill set, but the biggest thing we build is confidence. And I think we see our athletes on the field be more confident in their body, in how they are more agile, how they approach competition, how they're better teammates. And so I love that about what we do, is we teach all of these other characteristics that sports gives to us, that make us better people, humans, community members, husbands, wives. And one of the things that I think that Athletic Republic really dominates in is how long we've been around. We've been around for 32 years. So we can lean back on, we can there's 3 decades of athlete results that we can lean on, the stories that we can tell about the athletes and where they ended up. Not just like the celebrity athletes. We've trained the recent Heisman winner, Caleb Williams, but everything down to the small story of the 7-year-old that was trying to make the A squad and, trained with us all summer and made the team in September. Like, we're trying to tell the stories of like every athlete. And what's been really fun to see is it's actually helped us in our franchise development process, because for the first time ever, we are having franchise candidates be athletes that we trained when they were young. And so to have this like alumni network of kids who have now kind of grown up with sports, trained at one of our facilities, and then go to college for sports management or kinesiology, and then come out and say, I want to start an Athletic Republic, and come back to us. We're actually seeing quite a bit of a funnel in our franchise development from these second, even third generation athletes. And it just blows my mind. So back to the whole quote, I wish I had this as a kid. The people that come to us want to do this for the next generation of athletes. And that's where we're getting the majority of our investment on an entrepreneur side.
I love that. And, what would you say, and I'm going to throw kind of devil's advocate here, because I heard it, is you're exploiting children. You've made a business model that you're just gonna like let kids be kids. You don't need to put them through workouts. They don't need all of this. You're just making money off parents when their kids don't really need to go and weight train. What do you say to that? And especially on the development side of, I was really interested in buying an Athletic Republic, and then my sister's friend's cousin's coach said, well, we do that in the high school anyways. Why would you buy that? Like, no one's going to buy that. You're just exploiting families for more money.
Yeah, I mean, we get the gamut, right? But the truth of the matter is most of our athletes, most of our coaches need the limited time that they have with children to teach the skill set of the sport. The baseball coach needs to be able to teach the swing dynamics and what it means to have positioning training and things like that. No one's spending the time to help the athletes with their fundamentals. Like, answer me this. You put your kids through swim lessons, right? Have you ever put your kid through running lessons?
Listen,
running lessons.
Not unless they're chasing after something and it's me.
That is the fundamental of most every sport out there, is running. And so the importance of putting our athletes through running training. So this is how we explain it to parents, is we are teaching a child the fundamentals of athletes so that they have the right running mechanics. So they're building up speed and power, and so that they can go enjoy and be happy with the activities that they're going to participate in, because they're doing it right, they're doing it quickly, they're able to excel and be confident in it, and most importantly, they're not getting injured. So there's our centers have some pretty high tech savvy equipment. And one of the things that we do is a 3PQ test. It tests the power output of an athlete, and can actually test the power differential between the left and the right leg of an athlete. And what that can tell you is if they're more likely to have an injury, if there's a % difference between their left and the right leg strength. So then what we do is we customize training, individualized training programs for the athlete to create a better balanced athlete, so that they don't get an ACL injury or they don't ruin their athletics career. So yeah, we definitely hear the gamut of you're exploiting athletes and things like that, but everyone that comes to us wants to be here, and we've never had a problem with reputation and referral, because people want to tell all their friends about it as well.
I love that. And I think what might be different for Camille as opposed to you is, if you sign your kid up for something, you're also teaching them, if I start this, you're going, like, you're not quitting, right? So I doubt that you have a high attrition rate or % of people signing up and then not showing up, right? Because this is a lot of, teaching your kids to be a good person. Now, Camille and Susan as well, for these recurring memberships, is there a big delta between the people that sign up and say, I'm going to come every month and then don't versus the people that do, because I am the worst at that. I think I'm still paying for a Planet Fitness subscription from like 2018. Have I been? Not in 5 years. So what does that look like? Because I'm sure there's some concepts out there that if all of a sudden on January 1st, everyone with a membership showed up, they would be at over max capacity. So do you guys see a delta there?
We do, and it really is studio by studio. It really depends. But we definitely have a group of our members who pay and they don't come. We have member retention strategies that we teach our managers and sales associates to do, because we do know it's not like Planet Fitness. If you're paying $200 a month for a membership and you're not using it, then yeah, you're going to cancel it probably within the next 3 months or so.
Sure.
But we encourage people to come, but we definitely have a large chunk. And it really, like I said, it kind of depends on studios. So out of our personal studios, we have one in Plano, which is the Dallas side of the DFW Metroplex. We probably have the majority of those members show up all the time. We have such full classes. We cannot add enough. That membership base, they come. And then one of our Fort Worth locations, they have about 100 members that never show up. They just pay us every single month. And, you reach out, you try to get a hold of them, try to do the ethical thing, but sometimes they just ignore you. And so then you just let it go. And that's just, unfortunately, that's, the good side on the business side is that's revenue in your pocket. But we try to encourage them to attend, because if they're attending, they're building community, they're telling their friends, they're buying your retail. But it is pretty crazy. I'm sure with kids, yeah, you're definitely going to take your kid. If nothing else, just still drop them off.
Get in the car. So Susan, what about you? Do you see a big delta there? Is it a lot of like people sign up, they're getting their massage?
I think it's really, are you getting the benefit, the therapeutic value? Are we meeting your needs when you come in and get a massage or a facial? And if they are, they're coming back. And sometimes they're coming back twice a month. So it's really the job at the franchise location. It's up to the hiring the best therapists, the best sales coaches, and just providing the experience. Because if you get that great experience and you're not in any pain, or you're meeting the need of whatever your why was when you came in, you're coming back.
Right.
It's our jobs to make sure that they come back. And that's why we have phenomenal therapists across the country. They're trained, they have personalities, they have experience, they have skill set, they're all licensed. So they have to relate to that member and guest based on their need. And yeah, I mean, that's the recurring revenue side of being in a membership model. It's a beautiful thing. So it's all about the experience. And that's why our mission is really to provide every guest that awesome experience every time. So we live by that, and our strategies and our tactics are to provide the resources to our franchisees to help them deliver that.
And I really love that you guys brought that up, because I think there's a twofold here. I think that there's, the franchise candidates that say, that's great, I can sell 1 million memberships and not everyone's going to show up. But I like that you brought to attention of, well, if they don't show up, are we really doing our job? Are we really giving them everything they need and they want, regardless of whether they or not they pay? And also, Camille, to you being like, no, the ethical thing is, let's call them and be like, hey, you're still paying us. Like, let's get you in. What do you need? We'll make a spot for you. So I think that that's an important piece, especially through franchise candidate selection, of you're not just bringing on people that say, I love fitness, I want recurring revenue, I'm going to sell the socks off it, and I don't really care who comes. You really have to be passionate about your consumer, about what your brand does, in order for your customers to resonate. And Caitlin, you said that Drybar is one of the fastest growing brands out there. So where are your leads coming from? Are they mostly digital? Are they swaps from WellBiz? Are they coming to you organically? What does that look like? Because I'm sure a lot of people see Drybar as, a simple salon solution in, a franchise package.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you asked. I think for Drybar specifically, probably 95% of our transactions have been organic leads. And we have really made a huge push with the broker networks over the last year.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it's organic leads that are driving our growth right now. And because they started off as customers in a local shop while they were traveling, they had such a great experience. All they could do was dream about bringing that to their communities. And so that's been really cool. I'm sure that will evolve over time. And then also what we're seeing too is that our franchisees within our other brands are now diversifying within the portfolio and purchasing licenses for Dry Bar, and and vice versa. Dry Bar franchisees are purchasing Amazing Lash licenses, and that's been really neat to see. So we're assisting we're helping our franchisees not only grow but to diversify within the beauty and wellness space. So that's been a really cool thing to witness. But yeah, I mean, right now, our loyal fan base and customer base, that they are driving Dry Bar's growth specifically right now.
And that's such a great testament to, providing a great service every single time and making sure that you have the training for the franchisees and their employees on that. I think a lot of times brands who might not have the same organic growth think, well, why? It doesn't matter, because if people are going to one of my locations or using my service in an area, that's location's already sold. But what you're telling me is, people can travel, people have friends, people have family, people are willing to move. And that's definitely something you have to take into account when you're doing your development strategy. It doesn't mean that everyone is always stationary at one place. There is a lot of moving parts around. Now, Camille, I want to talk to you because, you go on your website and like you said, you've got 74 that are, on their way, coming soon. If you already opened 30, 40, how have you managed that growth? Because I'm sure a lot of veterans, Susan and Cindy, Lindsay included, are looking at going, that, is that scalable? Is that sustainable? I know some of the people you work with on the back end, Danielle Wright, she's fabulous. How are you making sure that you're growing quickly, you're going to be able to support it, and you're not, advertising something that you can't deliver on?
Yeah, we've done a lot of hiring just over the last year and a half, and then we're actually actively hiring now, and we'll be hiring into Q1 also. And what we've really tried to do is hiring, director levels that are doers, that are, they're excited about being, I mean, we still call ourselves, very much of a startup because we are still growing. We still have and we see so much opportunity. The biggest national competitor for us is Club Pilates, and we've seen what they've done. And so we want to hire people that are competent, they're data driven, and that they will be willing to do the work and do that hard work now, and then hiring now more support people for them. So, but yeah, I mean, it's constantly the game of like, okay, is it time to hire yet? Is it time? Are you good? Checking in with our people to make sure that they're not drowning either. And then looking at forecasting, okay, we just signed, these people, they want to open 3 locations. They're going to do 1 now, and then 1 in another year, and 1 another year. And then how many have we signed there? And just kind of working backwards through those numbers to see when do we need to hire more support for them? Just so that, and a big part for us too is making sure our quality always stays really, the best quality that we can have. And so on our education side, just making sure that we are, pushing out things that are scalable, making sure class formats are going to still be creative, but there's some boundaries around it so that you're not walking into the Body Bar in Chicago and it feel completely different from the Body Bar in Dallas. So I think hiring is huge.
And where are your leads coming from? Because I'm sure a lot of people are looking at, like I said, looking at your website going, well, what the hell? Like, are you using one of those, franchise development outsources? Is it all internal? How are you guys handling that?
Yeah, so we do a lot of digital leads for sure. We do Facebook, Instagram, and then SEO. A lot of people that we get are looking for, I want to own a Pilates studio. And so then they end up going through our website. The majority of our actual franchisees that we close is through the ones that come to us through our website. Some of them are ones that they're looking at Club Pilates and they're all sold out in their territory, you know, and where they live. And so they're like, okay, well then what's another Pilates brand? And then we're popping to the top. Are getting more and more grass root marketing going on, and definitely like in Florida, you know, so-and-so's friend owns the Body Bar in Tampa, and so they tell their friend in Clearwater, and that's been a ton of Florida has been word of mouth.
That's awesome. And then Susan, what about you? Because for everyone who doesn't know, actually probably no one knows, I don't know why I said that, but the first time I met Susan, we were at a table at a IFA event, and we were with the chicken salad chick people, and Susan was talking to me about, you know, the brands I own, and she goes, wait, where do you live? And I told her again, she goes, we got to own a Massage Heights. And I had a couple conversations with their franchise development person, and to have the CEO also be someone who's like, I'll sell it anytime. Listen, we almost bought brand number 5, but my husband was like, no more kids, no more brands for right now, just for right now. So where, you know, how are you guys continuing to fill the lead funnel? You guys are a staple in the massage space. It's highly competitive, over 100 locations. You know, what are you telling your development team to make sure that that lead and location numbers are always climbing? Because once you get to 100 plus, it's very easy for that to plateau.
Well, first of all, Madeline, we're going to talk again because I'm not done trying to sell to you. But really, what I think the most important thing we always keep in mind is we want to bring in the best franchisees that align with our mission and culture. So being a mature brand, we want to make sure we built great foundation. We know how to we know the processes and everything. We just want somebody to adapt to our systems. So when I came on in May of 2021, we did pause and we took a little bit of a step back. We weren't aggressively selling. We really wanted to focus on increasing our current AUVs. So, you know, after 1 year, we were able to get over 1 million AUV. So we really focused. So we paused it. We didn't, you know, we didn't turn the faucet off completely, but we weren't focused on it. We needed to help our franchisees increase their revenue and increase their profitability, because we know that that's really the core. You have to have franchisees that are doing well, doing great. They're great validators, but we want them to be successful because of all the reasons we've all talked about. So just this last year, you know, we really started to put together a more robust, aggressive program to drive organics, working with brokers, getting out there. And a lot of our franchisees, they're coming to us from, as Caitlin said, from members, or current members, or they have heard of us, or we even have therapists, and we have regional directors who work for the franchisees. They have become a franchise owner because that's been their dream. So to see that happen is great, but we use digital. We've obviously digital PR, working with the brokers, and we, you know, we're really starting to you know, to get significant traction on that. So that's what we did really the first couple of years. So as we go into 2024, we're really looking at ramping it up, and we've got everything in place to find the right franchisee, but also the investment that we're going to make to continue to drive organics and work with the brokers out there is really what we're about now. So yeah, we're over 1 million AUV. And, you know, I give all of our franchisees the credit. They engaged and they adopted what our strategies were. We came in and you know, had outlined a number of areas, looking at not just pricing, but also, you know, membership and sales and how to increase conversions. And, you know, it took a whole team, but gosh, within a year to increase it over to 1 million, I give our team and the franchisees just all the credit. So, and we can't stop there. It keeps on going, because that's, you know, that's what we want to do. We wake up every day and we say, how can we help our franchisees be more profitable? And so when we start there, then the rest of it gets a little bit easier. So our plans for 2023 and 2024 and beyond are much more aggressive in the franchise development than they have been the last couple of years.
And you know, I admire the fact that you said we came on and, you know, we pulled back a little bit, because I think sometimes when brands get to the point where they think, oh, if I don't grow, if I'm not going 100% all the time, a competitor is going to take over me, I'm going to lose my foothold. And that's just certainly not the case in franchising. There's a reason that franchising has been around for so many years, because it's, there's so many different people that are pushing to make everyone successful. So if you think, what is right for my brand right now is not franchise development growth, but in fact, unit growth, that's okay to do. And I love that you pulled that to attention, because it's so true. When you're joining a franchise, for all of our candidates, on here listening, you want to be part of a franchisor that cares about your franchise location, because there are franchisors out there that are more concerned with, and not necessarily in a bad way, but a different management style, but they're more concerned with growing the number of locations, growing the number of brands underneath the umbrella, than really focusing on the unit economics. And if you're someone who wants to come in and make sure that your businesses are nurtured throughout the lifetime of the FDD, that is something you need to take into account. So Susan, I appreciate you for saying that. And one last question on this is, who's the ideal candidate for you guys? Who is, someone that can come in and be successful with the Massage Heights brand, or just in the industry in general? Because I'm sure it's much different than someone who's, going to be the ideal food and beverage or home services. Because yes, I think that there's always the fever dream of, I'm going to be like the dad in Blindside and own 20 Taco Bells and never have to go in and have this great lifestyle. But that's just not the truth. Listen, I've tried it, I've failed, I've closed brands, and the ones that we own now that are doing well are the ones that our personalities and our qualities just mesh with the best. So how does that work for you guys?
Yeah, a great question. I think the number one out there is you got to have passion for the business, the health and wellness in general. You have to believe in it. I also think that you want to be involved in your community. That's important to us. Someone that mirrors our values, that mirrors, the vision that we put in place, someone that is great with people management. Now our franchisees hire regional directors. They're the ones that manage every retreat every day. So we want a franchisee to have a business acumen. So, they have to have those strong skills to run a business. They're not typically your massage therapist, although we do have some franchisees that have their license and do that as well, but the majority aren't. We have pharmaceutical sales, nurses, marketing, research, technology, former corporate America individuals that have joined our brand. Others that own different industries. We have some of the amazing lash franchisees that have purchased a Massage Heights, tanning beds in the recurring revenue membership. We have several of those. It just makes sense. They understand the membership model. So all sorts. And like I said, it's, it really doesn't matter as long as you really have the passion and you've got the right values and obviously the business side to run a business. So all areas of the business, but those are just some that have proven very successful for us.
That's great. And Lindsay, what about you? Because you also have, like we discussed before, the children layer on there and the sports layer on there. So how much does the concept play into who makes a great owner?
Yeah, it plays everything into it. I think just looking at our panel, I think we're all very, very lucky that we're in the wellness market. I guess I think that we're not fighting just on dollar for dollar for how people select their franchise concepts. To your point, Susan, we are so lucky that we get to talk to individuals who have such a passion for each of our businesses. I think that's a luxury a lot of franchise brands don't have, and they just have to play the numbers game. And it has to be the profitability and the AUV has to be so clean, and the business has to be so turnkey that is their primary point of differentiation when it comes to their franchise development process. For us, we get to play this game of finding people that are passionate about our brands and our customers and our community. And for us parents, and the idea of giving back to their community or offering products and services that their kids, that they didn't have as a kid. I think that's what we lean into when we recruit the characteristics. So for me, I think we define, maybe especially coming out of COVID, I think we define success and happiness so much differently than we did 5 years ago. And that is like entirely what I lean into, because the way I measure success is not just the dollars in my bank account. Now, while that's important and, money can buy boats, the truth is that I want flexibility in my schedule. I want to give back to my kids. I want to be present with my kids. I want an employer that understands balance. I know that that's a really overused word, but for working dads and working moms, I think that's what we lean into for our Fran development, is finding the candidates that have that passion project, that care about our business, that want fulfillment beyond the success of monetary success, that can sleep well at night. And so I think that's what we really lean into. And I want to make one more comment, and not that we're all spoiled. I didn't mean to say that. I just think that we're all very lucky that we work in the industry that we do. I wouldn't work anywhere else. I mean, wellness, fitness, franchising, it's just the magic combination. And I think we're surrounded by amazingly wonderful people that are working in the industry, but also our franchise candidates, as well as our customers. We're just all happy to be around each other. And I think that the wellness industry historically has been a very fad-based industry. Things come and go really quick. It's a flash in the pan type of industry. A lot of concepts are short-lived, the shake weight and the booty bars and things like that.
And I still have a shake weight. I don't know where it came from. I don't know who uses it, but it is in my basement.
I love that. But I think that the key to the wellness market is having such a powerful brand, and so much conviction in what you do for your customers that you're going to stand the test of time. And I think every brand that you put on today's panel is standing the test of time. It's sorting through the clutter of fads, and customers, we got to get past the industry norm, which is customers want a shortcut to everything, a shortcut to weight loss, a shortcut to this, a shortcut to that. So the brands that create a community, create a lifestyle, have recurring memberships are the ones that are going to stand the test of time. And I think that's every single one of us on this panel represents a brand that does that.
Thank you, Lindsay. And I think that's so true. I love the mindset of, while sure, I would love to take a pill and lose weight and never have to eat and never have to work out. We get that. That doesn't exist. And what people want is they want to be happy and they want to feel good and they want to belong somewhere. And all of your brands are making that happen. Caitlin, what's next for WellBiz? What's next for Drybar? What can we expect in the future? And, where do you see yourself and your brand going?
That's a great question. I would say that, right now for Drybar specifically, we are working on making this more of a franchisee friendly model. So when we acquired the brand, it was primarily corporately owned shops. They were built out like flagship shops, and the initial investment was very high. And so we have been working on cost engineering the build out. So we're really excited to test out a 2.0 design soon. So really to, see that shift and hopefully be able to cut this initial investment in half since we first acquired the brand. Now that's the goal. So we'll see where that leads us, but that's kind of where our focus is, and really just putting in the processes and the tools and the best practices to increase revenue for our franchisees. And give them the support that they need to be successful and to grow. So I think that's our goal for all of our concepts. And it's been really fun to see this portfolio, the synergy across all the brands. It's really amazing, and seeing our franchisees diversify within the portfolio. we've been testing out a multi-brand membership in a few pilot markets. So there's just a lot of opportunity and potential. And so I'm really excited to see where we're going to go with that. And so, we'll see. So we'll see how everything plays out.
Thank you. And I think that that's such a great comment to end on. And Camille, I'm going to come to you for one last comment, but I think sometimes when people are in between the decision of independent or franchise, they see the franchise fee and they go, well, there it is. They just want to make money off of me. But the fact that Dry Bar and Wellbriz are actively working to cut that investment cost in half, to make it more affordable, to make it more profitable, is something that's incredible and really brings to light the fact that we are not in the business of franchising to just grab people's money and then, have it just make rich people more rich in the back end. Because I think that if you're not familiar with franchising, you don't realize how much investment of personal, emotional, and money goes in from the corporate office to make every single one of our locations successful on that end. It's truly a passion for community, people, and the concept itself. And that's a true testament to that. Now, Camille, I know we're coming up on time, but what's next for Body Bar Pilates? I love that you guys are growing, you're making it fun and innovative, and you're really starting to come very in comparison with the leader of Club Pilates. So what can we expect from you guys?
Yeah, we will continue to grow, of course. And, I definitely want to touch on, I think we've all touched on it a little bit, but we want to grow our team with people that are like people on this panel that actually care about the franchisees and them making that revenue. Of course, selfishly, I want to see Body Bar everywhere in the community, and I want it to feel like home every time I walk into a studio. But really what's important is that franchisee, they invested their time, their money. We want to make sure that they're successful and that they, find joy in owning a Body Bar. So continuing to grow Body Bar across the United States, but also growing our team, our leadership team, so that we can continue to support them.
I think that's awesome. Now, everyone, thank you for joining in. Thank you for listening in. For those listening to the not live recording, if you want to connect with any of these wonderful ladies, find them on LinkedIn or find them through their brands themselves. Ladies, thank you so much for joining and bringing a lot of information that you can't necessarily just get if you go on the website. You're really giving us an in-depth real look at what it takes to be a part of your brand and successful in the industry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. And next week, for everyone who's going to tune in, we've got Massage Lux, Mayweather Boxing, Sola Salons, Lumen Fitness, and Stretch Zone, and we will see you then. Thanks, guys.
Bye.